Gratitude morning, everyone. Happy to see you all on Sunday morning with shiny smiles. We are back with another interesting talk. We'll start with our session with our invocation by Madhu.
Thank you, Deepthi. This is who we are. We are a team, talented, energetic, astonishing mindsets. We can do anything and everything. We talk, we care, we respect each other. We see beauty in everything. We are connected by hearts and driven by values. We celebrate each other. We provide value to each other. We take ownership in everything we do. We have the freedom to make mistakes. We learn as we go. We love disruptive ideas. We make impossible things possible. We are strong to question the creation. We believe in dreaming big. If we do not dare to dream big, are we really living? Why be ordinary when we can be extraordinary? We can do it. We will do it. Let us not hope for the best. Let us be the best. We should be driven by goals, not by egos. This is who we are.
Thank you, Madhu, for reading out with your powerful voice. So, it's time. Let me take the pleasure to introduce our top speaker, our top mentor. This time, it's our special Sunanda ma'am. She's a humble personality who inspires us in a big way. As our Nivi expressed beautifully, her interactions with everyone makes us confident. Her beautiful gesture makes us comfortable. Her appreciating heart makes us shine. Her support towards everyone makes us strong. She is our Mana Sunanda ma'am. Ma'am presently working as the Director of Operations at Dispatch Track. She also worked as Senior Project Manager, Guest Author, Adjunct Faculty, and the list goes on. Yes, the dynamic lady is here. She is multi-talented. We are glad to have Sunanda ma'am talking about the project management. Let us experience the tremendous 32 years of experience. Ma'am, we are excited to learn from you.
Thank you so much for those wonderful words. You guys always, make me feel much more than probably I am. Thank you very much for that. That's what gives me more energy and confidence. And I'm really excited to talk about project management with all of you. So let's get into the presentation. Let me share my screen. Are you able to see my presentation? Can you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. It's a little bit of teething troubles with Google Meet presentation. So yeah, let's go ahead. So the challenge is I see only my screen, so I can't really see all of you. So I will, what I plan to do is after a logical end of a particular topic, I will pause and then I will ask if there are any questions and then we can proceed. That way I will also be able to see you all asking questions and talk about it. Is that fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So today I'll be giving you an overview about project management. So project management is very, very exhaustive, but today in this 1.5 hour session, what I would like to give you is an overall view about project management. So that would be, we'll talk about what projects are, what exactly is a project and what is not a project. We'll also talk about the differences between projects, programs, and portfolio and why they are important for an organization. Then we'll move into what makes project management so important. What are those key things that you need to look at when you want to understand project management and when you want to manage projects for a successful completion? Then we will also talk about what is the difference between traditional project management and the agile project management. So these days, most organizations follow agile project management, and we will see why that is more in vogue and why people are using agile project management. Then we'll also talk about a few tools. I will not have enough time to go into the depth, but I'll just talk about the few tools that are used in managing projects. Then we'll talk about what options do you have if you want to choose a career in project management. What are the different roles that you can get into? Then for going into those career options, what certifications are available? I will also share a few resources, free resources that are available on project management, so that if you want to learn more about it, go deeper into it, maybe do some free certifications or diplomas, you can as well go to that. And a few more resources for the certifications and other things. So this is what is going to be the flow of the session today. Now, I know all of you do projects. So what I want to understand is what exactly is a project according to you? So let me stop for a minute and then have you people talking about it. All of you do projects, right? So tell me what, in your opinion, what you think is a project.
Ma'am, is it like a small scale? I mean, something that enhances your creativity, and which is not that big, but lets you learn that very big purpose or vision of something.
Okay, good. Purpose, vision, nice. Any other thoughts? You can feel free, anything, because you've done so many projects. So think about it and come up with your own definition of the project, because there is nothing like a perfect definition. It is more about understanding at this point of time, because we are not in a theoretical session where you have to go write an exam and you get marks for it, right? So feel free. Okay, Nikhil.
Yes, ma'am. Like, according to me, project is something which has an end goal,
Mhm.
and we complete we will have a plan for it to complete it. Like, we'll have a plan and go with it. Like
Okay.
so it involves team, and
Mhm.
I think and also in the process of planning we might divide the work into different groups, or maybe I don't know whether an individual can do a project, like
Mhm.
maybe.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a very good way of putting forth what a project is. So you were talking about there being an end goal. So earlier also we talked about a vision, a purpose, and dividing work among resources and having a team. And there is a certain time. Who else? Any other thoughts about project?
Am I audible?
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. According to me, what I have experienced is a project is one which have the goal, as
Mhm.
Apurva and Nikhilana said, which has the goal and which is to be fulfilled. We don't know that is 100% completely surely done 100%, but
Okay.
most of the times we will try for the 100% accuracy.
Very
Most
good.
of the time, and
Very.
the managing it is something like dividing the work if we have the team or individually, but completing it in the best way is dividing with the team, and we should be always in time, not on time or after the time. We should be always in time, so that we will be having the chance for collectivization of ideas, brainstorming, and then what are the next ways for the next, if we have come with the same project at the next time, we should be more accuracy, and we should be more confident, because this brainstorm and the drawbacks of here can help in the next project. That is how manage learning from the every moment, something like for the first time you are doing that first project, you should be before the time you should be discussing the things, and that should be using for the next thing. That how I experience it. That how
Excellent.
we correct the things
Very
and learn the new things, and that's what
very
project management is to me.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you have made it much simpler for me. You have covered most of the things about a project definition. Excellent. Yeah, I think
Thank you.
more people.
Lilita?
Thank you, Deepthi. Thank you, Dhanush. I mean, as Nikhilana mentioned, I feel like project should have an end goal.
Mhm.
One thing which it's almost the same which everyone mentioned.
Right.
One thing which I really want to mention is giving updates to each other, so
Mhm.
that in a team everyone is aware that we have done something, or
Mhm.
like our project has reached to a stage. Yeah. I mean, giving updates to each other is, and so that everyone in the team is aware of
Fantastic.
everything.
Absolutely.
That is one of the most important things, which I would like to emphasize on.
Excellent.
Thank
Anybody
you,
else?
ma'am.
Okay, Shivani.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi, Shivani. Go ahead.
Yes, according to me, project is like something where we explore uh, a particular uh, a particular work or a particular thing in a team with a learning mindset and within a time period, and
Okay.
fulfill that purpose on why we started.
Very good. So you have a purpose, you have an end goal, and you want to fulfill that purpose. Very nice. And there is a certain time frame in which you want to do it. Excellent. Anybody else?
Ma'am, just to add, like Shivani Akka mentioned, like it's something like a learning opportunity for us. We have a end goal, but no matter you you can reach it, or you may learn many things while doing it.
Very good. Very good. So let me summarize what the ideas have come here. So we are talking about a project. Most of you are saying there is a goal or there is an objective which we are trying to achieve. And we are also talking about there is a specific time frame in which you want to do it. It has to be done within a certain time frame. Then we are also talking about resources where the work has to be divided. And there is also the other point where we are talking about we learn from it. So we what Dhanush mentioned about learning from a project. So before we start, or if or that we take something that we have learned from the previous project and apply to the other project. Then the other part is about the communication. So it is very important, very critical that you communicate what is going on in the project, because it is a teamwork, it is a collaboration that is happening. So you need to make sure that the rest of the team members know what's going on. So a project is all this, definitely. And so many ideas have come up that it is very easy for me to now summarize. Let me go back to the screen. Yeah. Is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So here it is. So achieving your objectives within a time frame. So specifically when we talk about a project, it is something that you are doing to achieve an end goal, or there is an objective that you want to achieve, and there is a certain time frame. By definition, projects have a start and an end. It cannot go on and on and on. If it is an ongoing thing, then they are classified under operations, because projects are started with a specific objective. There is a certain time frame. So when we say a project, it need not necessarily be for a short time. It is our general understanding that projects are for short time. But if you look at the space projects, they go for a very long time. The defense projects, they are projects. They have, let's say, 5 years, 10 years, but they are also projects, because you are saying that this is a particular goal that I want to achieve, and there is a start and an end time to it. And like most of you have mentioned, projects are done to achieve an objective, something different. So if you are doing a project, it is something different from the previous project. Then only it is called a project. You are trying to do something unique. A unique or something different is what we are trying to achieve here. And in addition to that, a project will have a certain scope, and most of you said there are certain resources, your team, through which you manage, you divide the work among the team members. And there are resources, it could be people resources, it could be material resources, depending on the type of project, which again are not unlimited. So that is where your management comes into picture. And you always operate with certain constraints. One of you mentioned that we do not know everything when we are doing a project. So that is very true. Projects are always evolving. So when you start a project, you have a goal, you have a purpose. You're saying, this is what I want to do. As you move into the project, that is when you are actually getting more and more details about the project, and you are able to clearly define the entire scope of the project. So constraints, what exactly are constraints? Can somebody tell me what are constraints?
The challenges that we might have during the project execution.
Okay, challenges. And anything else? What is a constraint?
Like usually people, when we have some projects from clients or someone, they
Mhm.
they, they want it in less time
Okay,
for with high quality
okay, okay,
and all.
okay.
So that might be something
Yeah,
which might be challenging.
right. So, but what exactly we mean by constraints? So, like you said, limited time. So, constraints are essentially limitations. So, projects have certain limitations. Like you said, deadline or the time in which you have to complete could be a constraint, or the cost aspect could be a constraint. They might say that you have to complete this whole thing within this particular budget, and you have to achieve a certain quality, or the resources that are given to you, you are having only those resources, so that could also be a limitation. So you are actually managing projects within this limitation or a boundary that we are talking about. So that is where the constraints also come into projects. Now, what are not projects? So we are saying these are projects. Our house construction, is that a project? But we are saying things that are going to be done over and over again, they are not projects. Let's say we are talking about a construction company. They only build houses. Can we still call them as project?
No.
No? Okay, why not? Okay, let me take an example which is more closer to you. So you are conducting these sessions every week on Sunday morning, Top Talks. You're doing a Top Talk every time. So you're repeating the whole thing. So is that a project, or is that like a routine thing, an operation?
Operation.
Okay. Why not a project? Anybody?
Is it like continuous project, ma'am?
No, continuous project, because we are saying project has a certain, a time frame within which you have to do it, isn't it? So how do we say it is a project or not project?
For the first time, if we are doing,
Mm-hmm.
it can be considered as a project.
Okay.
To the new people who have joined in the team who want to organize the Top Talk, it can be project. And once it has hosted, it won't be a project,
Okay.
as far as I see.
Okay. Good thoughts. You're closer. What else? So every Top Talk, we are saying projects, it has to be something different. So on one hand, we are saying you're doing a Top Talk every week. But tell me, when you're organizing the Top Talk, is everything the same in the Top Talk?
No.
No,
Okay.
structure is the same.
Structure is same. Okay. So what is different?
Speaker
Speaker.
and host.
Sorry?
Speaker and host are the different.
Speaker is different, host is different, topic is different. What else is different? Probably the way you interact with them to organize it. Each person is different. Sometimes the audience could be different, right?
Yes.
So
The
while
environment and variables are different, though the structure is same.
correct. So while on the outside, it might look like, this is a routine thing. It's an operation, whether we talk about a house construction or the top talks that we are talking about. While you have perfected the art and it is almost like an operation, that it is a manufacturing, that it is happening, but it is not. Because every time you have different stakeholders, you have different people, you have different topics, different resources that you may have to use. So this will still be called a project. So you need to understand how you distinguish between the project and the not project, because in organizations you have both projects and operations. So what are operations? Operations are those where they happen day in and day out. So the one point that I think Dhanush mentioned is, first time it is a project, next time it is not a project. So to some extent, when you say a first time, let's say we are taking an example of a car. So when a new concept is launched, when a new car is coming into it, the design and development of that particular car would be a project or an operation?
Absolutely project, ma'am.
Sorry?
Absolutely, it should be project. It is a
Okay.
project. That's how even our most of our projects look like in the same way, right?
Correct. So when does it become an operation?
When we continuously execute the same idea.
Yeah. It's more about when you are manufacturing the cars. So let's say a new car is launched. So you have a electric vehicle coming in. So the initial stage of the concept, that is a project. But once it is perfected and it is an assembly line, it goes into the manufacturing. There is nothing different there. But again, if you are making a change, maybe in the interiors, maybe you're doing some other change, then that will have to be again done as a project. And then again, it moves into the operations or manufacturing. Both are important for an organization. Projects are needed to do something new, something to start off like you are doing, whereas operations are needed to sustain the business, because you need to also get that money by doing those operations. On the accounting side, they are also operations. So let me go back to the presentation. Okay, so I have taken actually your own projects here. That was easy for me. So it's not that other projects are not important, these are more important or anything like that. I just picked a few from the eCell website so that it's easier for us to discuss. So I think everybody agrees Pro2 is a project.
Yes, ma'am.
Why is it a project? So I see the goal here. We are talking about learning and applying Pro2 for solving chemical engineering problems. Now that we know the definition of the project, apply that and tell me how it is a project by looking at all those parameters that we talked about.
Though Pro2 is not wholesomely like a project, the books we have written on Pro2 are projects. Like suppose say how to learn chemical engineering in 100 problems.
Correct.
Is itself is a project which is having a deadline and which is having a particular way to act.
Correct. So when we talked about Pro2 as solving that 100 problems or something, so there is a defined scope for it and there is a goal. We are saying we want to solve these chemical engineering problems using Pro2. 100 of them, very well defined. And there was, I think, a time limit also for you within a month or something.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
wanted to
90
finish,
days.
right? Right. So, and it was a teamwork. All of you did it together. So it is a perfect example of the Pro2 being a project. Now, when we move to the ThickShake digital marketing, anybody who's working on this project in the call today?
For now, no, ma'am. But it was more kind of an internship, a 1-month internship.
1 month internship. Okay. What were you doing? I think you were writing some blogs for ThickShake,
Yes.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
So can we call this a project or no? Now that we know what is a project, what is not a project. Go ahead, we'll discuss. See, the whole idea is for us to understand what is and what is not, and then go deeper. Your own projects, I thought, would be much more helpful so that you can start analyzing and thinking when you do projects. Yeah, it looks like somebody wants to speak.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
In the I don't know about the complete 1 month is a project, but when they are doing the internship, and even similar with my internship also, when we
Okay.
are doing in the internship, something if you want to write a blog, we want to write on a topic
Right.
for the limitations. I mean, constraint of 1,000 words and constraint of only within the 2 days.
Okay.
And with if we consider writing on one topic, is a one project. So internship of 1 month includes many projects. Something like every time the blog is same, but the content or context is different. That's how
Right.
those are the different projects I can say.
Very good. So you have got the concept. So each time when you're writing a blog, each blog writing is a project. But overall, if you look at digital marketing, depending on what other activities, if you were assigned, then they will come under a bigger thing. But each blog writing will be a project, because for each of that blog, you need to do your research. It's a different topic that you're writing about. And again, we are looking at different resources and then putting it together. Now, again, when we come to the Mad and Co flavors project also, from what I see in the description, so you're saying technical details, organize the technical details, procure the imported raw materials locally. So it is basically, I think you did a research to understand the sources from where the raw materials can be procured. You analyzed and documented drinks and raw materials needed for these specific things. And these documents help to begin the research and development in the company. Anybody from this project here?
For now, no, ma'am.
Huh.
I know few details about it. Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead. So tell me, by looking at the description, is this like one project, multiple projects, or something bigger?
Maybe one project, ma'am, like to develop the documentation by doing the necessary research.
Okay. So how we can look at it is, looks like you can divide it again into either sub projects within that, and you can call it as an overall program where you basically want to make sure the R&D can start based on this. So you have smaller projects which are all getting linked to an overall program in the company, where they want to make sure one goal is to indigenize the raw materials, how you can source. So for that, you're doing one project where you're finding the sources, and the other one is where you are analyzing whatever the documentation that is there, so that maybe you can produce it here, or I don't know what exactly that was. So these are different projects that are being done to come to an overall a bigger scale of the company in Mad and Co flavors. Sanchan, I see, is again, the role was a project manager role there. Now coming to the food entrepreneurship project. So
Hey, Sunanda.
Yeah.
Just wanted to tell you a little about that Mad & Co. It was actually a really big project.
Okay.
It was supposed to be actually we were supposed to open several companies based on that.
Oh, okay.
So it was a really big project. It was supposed to go on for years.
Years. Okay. Yeah. So I will, once we come into the project program and portfolio, I'll take both that Mad & Co and food entrepreneurship and discuss a little more, so that we understand what exactly these are and how they are all linked together. Now, in terms of managing a project, there is an approach in which we do it. I think all of you have done the same thing. When we start a project, so we said we start a project and then the project will end because there is a definite timeline that we are looking at. It could be short as writing a blog, or it could be big ones where Shravan talked about the Mad and Co. or the defense projects that are there. They are long-term projects. Now, every project, there is an initiation. So the word initiation itself says that you start something. So during the initiation, that is where we are firming up what exactly we want to achieve for the project. Who are the people that are going to be involved? What we want to achieve? What are the quality parameters that you have to achieve if that is involved in this? And what are the high level risks that are involved in the project? So essentially, it is kickstarting the project by understanding what you need to do in terms of the project. Then you move into planning. So while some of you, while defining the project, you said project is something where we do planning. Yes, planning is one of the key aspects in project. So planning is where you are thinking through. You are looking at how you want to do. What are the things that you want to do? So plan is all about what you want to do. What are the goals that you want to achieve? What resources you need? What communication strategies you need to put in place? Because you talked about giving updates. Updates is one part, yes, definitely. But there is also a lot of communication that needs to happen, which you guys are doing effortlessly because you have the team synergy. But in organization, that is the biggest bottleneck and challenge in terms of communication. But that's one critical aspect. So planning involves planning for all the different aspects, the key components of the project. So you need to know what you are trying to achieve out of the project, which is the scope. Then what time frame you want to do it. That is where we're talking about the schedule, how much money goes into it, the budget. And then we also talk about if there is any procurement, like in Mad and Co, we are talking about procurement or purchasing some resources. It could be materials, it could be manpower, people that you want, or it could be tools that you are trying to get. So everything with respect to the project will have to be planned. So this is all thinking through what you need, how you want to do it, and put that into place. So that is what is called a project plan, the planning process. Now, execution is the action part. So whatever you have planned, you will do. That is the execution. So that is execution is you said, I want to do in so much time. So you're actually doing the whole thing. It is, if we take a simple example of your own exam preparation, and the exam, writing the exam is the end goal. The execution part is when you say in preparation, I need probably 1 month time, and you say, this is the plan. I have so many subjects, so many chapters, and each day I'm going to do this. When you actually do it, that is the execution. Now, what is monitoring and control? Monitoring and control is you are seeing how things are going, and that part is monitoring, and control is making sure you do some adjustment. So if you see here in the diagram, you see there is a feedback coming into the planning to execution, and from again execution back into the planning. So what do we mean by this, and what is actually happening here? Why is there that feedback? So you make a plan and then you execute. So why should there be a feedback into the plan? Any thoughts?
To improve.
Okay. I think something Dhanush mentioned in the beginning when talking about projects. So he said there's a learning, and that learning we need to put into other projects. So it's not only the other projects, because when we are talking about a project, so the plan is done, you are executing the plan. While you are executing, you are actually monitoring. What is the difference between a monitoring and a control? We kind of use it in tandem, always monitoring and control. What is monitoring? What is control?
Monitoring, control is more kind of a commanding, and monitoring is more kind of a supervision.
Okay, supervision, good. Any other thoughts? You all had class monitors. What were they supposed to do? We didn't like those monitors anyway. What were they supposed to do? Or what did they do?
Ma'am, I feel monitoring is more of a it's just assisting people, like Apurva said. And when it comes to controlling, it's taking their power and kind of dominating on us.
Okay. So I know how you feel about your class monitor now. Yeah, okay. So monitor is supervision or observation. You are monitoring what is going on. What does your monitor do in a PC? It shows you what is there. So it's all the English meaning that we can look at essentially. So monitoring is we are observing what is going on in a project. When you're doing a project, you see what's going on. So you're observing, that is monitoring. Now coming to the control, yes, the word control is kind of, gives that negative feeling of somebody trying to control you or whatever. Some of you, I think, play racing games. You do? Anybody?
Video games, ma'am? Do you
Yeah.
mean video games?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So what do you do there? Car racing, let's say. What do you do? Did. Oh, why did in the past tense? Busy now. Okay, so what did you do there?
We only operate the joystick as far as it
Okay.
is.
How? That's what I'm trying to ask. Maybe Need for Speed or I don't know, GTA, what you play.
Okay, we will
That's
control the car.
boys, that's how I know. Don't worry, I don't play them though. So how do you do it?
We'll control the car, ma'am.
Okay. What do you mean by controlling the car?
We'll give it the direction to go.
Correct.
And the necessary speed and necessary momentum, everything.
Okay. So what happens? Let's say there is a course, right? For all these games, there's a start point and you're supposed to reach an end point there, right?
Yes.
And as it is going, there are other cars coming in, and then your car is swerving away from the lane that you want to go. So you use your joystick, and then what do?
We will accelerate more if you are in the 6th position.
Okay. But what if you are in the wrong direction? What do you do?
Ma'am, in some games, there's a mechanism where if the car goes in the wrong direction, it will automatically decelerate the car and put it in the right direction. Or in some other games, we need to turn it back.
Correct. So control is essentially that. What you're trying to do is there is a plan. So that is your track on which you need to go. Now, as you are going, sometimes there is a deviation. Sometimes unknowingly you are going away from where you're supposed to go. So what you do, you adjust your joystick so that you're trying to back onto the track. That is what we mean by control. So in project also, monitoring is what gives you that picture. What is the course that you need to take? What is that track that you have to be? And when you're monitoring, you see that you're diverting maybe to sometimes a little away or this way. So what you do is you define even the control parameters during your planning stage. If let's say I am getting delayed, then you try to adjust and then come back onto the track. So that is what is the controlling part. So while you are executing, so it is not like all different things happening. So you plan, then you execute. While you are executing, you will do a monitoring and also a control. Let me give you a more simple example. When you're writing an exam, I think you have a plan. It's a 3-hour exam. There are short answer questions, there are long answer questions. So typically you divide certain time for the exam, saying that this is the total long answer, this is the short answer. So typically the invigilator says half an hour done. Then what do you do? Oh my God, I haven't completed. So what do? You try to write much faster. And then you try to make sure that whatever you had in mind as the plan, you try to bring it back. So as you have planned, you are executing, you are also monitoring and controlling in that 3-hour exam that we are talking about. So this on a bigger scale is what we do in terms of monitoring and control. Now coming to the closing part. So when we close a project, it is not a time where, okay, we have achieved our goal and we are done with it. No, we are supposed to actually, like Dhanush said, understand what we learned from this project, what went well, what did not go well. So you make a note. I think you people are already doing it without knowing these terms and jargon. So in a project, what has worked for you, you replicate in the next project. So these are what are called your lessons learned. The good practices you replicate. The things that didn't go well, you analyze, and then you see what else you can do when you start off a next project. So that is how your project approach is all about. You initiate a project, then you make a plan, you execute, and then you, while you're executing, you also see if things are going back, you also have to go make changes to your plan, which is why there is a feedback into the planning stage. So you do that, then execute, monitor, make changes so that you are back on track, and then finally when it is done, you close the project. So you also make sure that all this thing is properly documented so that this becomes a resource, a reference for the future projects. So this is, we'll talk about the projects, programs, and portfolios. Project, we have seen the definition, what is a project. Now programs are a group of related projects. So which is why I said when we are talking about the Mad & Co, they're all related to a particular thing. Let's say we are talking about indigenization, or we are talking about, coming up with a different flavor or something. So they are related to that. So all of them become your program. Now, portfolio management is, let's say, as an organization, we want to do multiple things. So if, let's say we are talking about the other project, food entrepreneurship. So they have a vision, they have a mission, and they are also talking about what they need to achieve. So portfolio management is more or less like an orchestra. Why are we talking about an orchestra here? Because in an orchestra, there are different instruments. But the job of the music conductor or the portfolio manager is to make sure that all these together come out in a symphony, a mellifluous piece, a music piece that is coming out. So each one has a different instrument. They are all playing it in a different way, but the music conductor is the one who knows what is the final vision of this outcome, which is where the portfolio management comes into picture. This is more at a strategy level. Now, let's say in the food entrepreneurship project, we have a vision of promoting food processing units in rural Telangana. So that is the main vision of the organization. So for that, probably when we see here, we are talking about marketing strategies. So that is one project that we talk about. And writing a business plan, that is another project that we are talking about. There could also be something where, you go into the rural Telangana and then you give certain awareness sessions. But all these, they may not be directly related. Marketing strategy may not be related to the awareness program, but they are all tying to the main vision of the organization, which is promoting the food processing units in rural Telangana. So program is related projects. Like, for example, we talked about the digital marketing, where you have writing blogs and you're also doing something else for that organization. They're all related to digital marketing. Then digital marketing can be called a program. But if you're doing different projects and programs, but to achieve the overall organizational goal, that is when it becomes a portfolio. It is a much, much bigger thing. Any questions on this before we move to the key components? Any questions? Do you understand the difference between a project? I think in your own eCell, you can, think about it. See, eCell overall vision is something. You are doing different things, different projects.
Yes,
So
ma'am, we can correlate with everything that
eCell is like, that is the portfolio we are talking about. There are sustainability related projects that you are working on. There are also projects related to entrepreneurship with respect to digital marketing, with respect to the let's say the real estate. So these are all the different things, and we are also talking about different initiatives like involving the parents, involving the other things, writing books. So these are all the different projects and programs, but they all align with the vision of eCell. That's the portfolio that we are talking about. Okay, so let's move. Yeah.
I just have this doubt. Like
Go ahead.
generally, some people get into some work and they will be continuing in that sector in different positions, right? So
Right.
for them, what is the difference between? I mean, what there is not much change in portfolio, right?
No, portfolio in the sense we are talking about not the portfolio of the person as such. So if you are thinking portfolio with respect to their role and title, then also the level of responsibility that they take is different and what they need to think of is different. As a project manager, you're only going to look at the objective of the project. You're only responsible for that. But if you're a portfolio manager, then you are responsible for the strategy. Like let's say, for example, we are talking about you are in a healthcare sector. So you are saying they will continue in the healthcare sector. How is it different, right? So in a healthcare sector, there could be just one project that you start out with as a project manager. But when you come to the portfolio management, you are talking about the strategy, like in healthcare, what should my company do? What different projects should it do? Should we also acquire some other company? So all these will come under your portfolio management. For example, if we are talking about a more simpler investment that we are talking about. So we talk about investment portfolio. So when you say investment portfolio, you invest in probably fixed deposits, you invest in shares, you invest in real estate, you invest in gold. What is your overall thing? Your portfolio is a mix of all these things because you want a secure future. Your 100 crores project, right? So that's what you're aiming at. That's the portfolio. Okay, I think we are kind of getting behind. Yeah, let me go back now. So scope. So in a project, we need to talk about what is the scope. Scope is what is it that you need to achieve in a project? What is in, what is out? Scope defines the boundary. So this is a very popular cartoon. I think anybody who has seen project management or attended any of the sessions, they would have seen this. So this is what generally happens if the scope of the project is not clearly defined. So what the customer wanted is something like this, a swing, but each person looks at it in a different way. And when this is the stark example also where communication fails. So finally, what the customer is getting is something like this. Okay. So you have to be very careful when you are defining the scope of the project. What should the project actually achieve? And you need to also know what is not included in the scope of the project. Otherwise, you have limited resources, you have limited time frame. So you are trying to utilize all of them to achieve the goal of the project or execute the scope of the project. So if you are getting out of scope of the project, you are wasting resources and not actually achieving the goal. So you need to have, yeah.
I just want to make a quick comment.
Yeah.
I think this is a very good screen. I think all of you should, take a picture of it and look at it many, many times.
Yes, sir. Like the clear mentioning of the communication gap between the persons.
Communication gap, and it is also basically understanding what is exactly needed. So when I started the session, I also mentioned that this is what I'm going to cover. And I mentioned that in the tools, I am not going to go into the details. So that is what is not out of which is out of scope, because otherwise the expectations are different. So you as project managers, you need to set the expectations very clearly upfront. That is the most critical part. Otherwise, we get into what is called a scope creep, which means without your knowledge, you are working on things which are not part of the scope, which is beyond. And end of the day, customer is going to be disappointed, and then the project is going to be a failure. So you have to be careful on defining the scope and making sure that you understand, and your sponsor or the person who is sponsoring the project or funding the project is also aware. Both of you are in agreement in terms of the project. So let's move on. The other thing that is important in a project is your schedule and your cost. What do we mean by schedule? What is a schedule or schedule? What do we mean by that?
An organized plan.
Okay, organized in the sense, what will it have? That's a good thing.
I mean, every minute detail on how process is going to be.
Okay, okay. Any other thoughts? What a schedule is?
Milestones and the deadlines.
Milestones and the deadlines. Very good. What else? It's like your timetable that you make for your exam preparation. So schedule is where we are talking about the different activities that need to be done. Who needs to do the activities? When it needs to be done? And then we also define what are the dependencies between the activities. Now, what is an activity and what is a phase? What's an activity? What's an activity or a task?
What we wanted to go, like what we wanted.
Yeah. So activity or task is, it's a small piece of work that you are supposed to do or you have to do to accomplish your scope. So when we are doing big projects, we try to break down the projects into phases. So when we say a phase, it is a group of activities that are related. You put it into a phase that is only for ease of monitoring. Now, what is a milestone? One of you said milestone.
Group of phases.
Group of things?
Group of phases.
Group of pages. Okay. Any other thoughts about milestones? Okay. What is a key milestone in your life?
Career.
Okay. Getting a job or career, or what do we call as a milestone?
Yes, ma'am. Getting placed. Yeah.
Getting a job. Okay. Or let's say completing your BTech is a milestone, or getting a job is a milestone. Why are we calling that as a milestone?
Things that are to be done or things that are done.
Okay. So these milestones, the literal word milestone, what does that signify? Have you
Like
seen milestones on the road?
in your destination path, you have crossed certain things.
Okay, excellent. So milestone that you see on the road, so they mark. What do you see on that stone that's there on the road? 50 kilometers to Hyderabad, let's say.
The coming,
Yeah, go ahead.
the coming path or the.
Yeah, so milestones are mile markers. These are put in place on the road to tell you that, okay, you have covered so much or you are yet to cover so much. So milestone is actually a point in time. It is an event. Whereas activities have a certain duration. Let's say we are talking about BTech. BTech degree is a milestone. Getting your BTech degree is a milestone. So that happens when you get your results. It's an event. But to get that BTech degree, there are certain activities. You need to complete your 4 years of the study. So 4 years of study can be broken down into activities which have certain duration. They need certain time. Whereas milestone is just a point in time and which has zero duration. It only signifies a major achievement or completion in your project. Now, what are the dependencies? What do we mean by dependencies? What are dependencies?
Maybe the other organizations we are dependent on to get the task done.
Okay. Yeah, other organizations that you are dependent on. Let me give you an example, a fun example to understand what dependencies are. I think all of you can see my screen, the movie.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me play this. Okay. So what do you understand now? What is a dependency?
The external things that might affect our schedule.
Yeah, it need not necessarily be an external. So when we talk about dependencies, so here with the idea about reaching the destination, so that is where Nagarjuna is saying that if I have to do that, you have to do this. You have to leave us first, right? So dependencies can be internal in the sense within the project. And like you said, it could also be external to the project. External to the project, it could be within the organization or it could be outside the organization also. And you also have to be mindful of these dependencies because your activity completion depends on that. So like he said, if Brahmanandam didn't leave them, they would get delayed and they cannot be on time. So same way, if let's say in your project, your team member is working on something that you need to work on and that gets delayed, automatically your activity is going to get delayed. So that's an internal dependency within the project. There are also external dependencies. Like you said, external organizations, you might get something, or you're trying to procure some tool or buy some equipment. So those are the external dependencies which have higher risk because you can't really control external dependencies. You can only control mostly the internal dependencies. Then you also need to look at the mandatory dependencies versus the discretionary dependencies. Mandatory are like, let's say for your project, you need a clearance from the government. Something as simple as constructing a house, we need municipal permission. And that is something, if any of you have ever gone to a government department trying to get permissions, it is something that is beyond your control. So you need to be careful about the dependencies because they are sources of risk for you. So you have to analyze and see what actions you need to take so that you are able to execute your work in the project within the given time. So that is where the dependencies come into picture. And budget. How do we make a budget? And why is a budget important? Any of you make a budget? When you stay in a hostel?
Yes, ma'am.
So what does it involve? How do you make a budget?
All the expected expenses.
Right. So you list down the different expenses that are there and you come up with an estimate for each of those expenses or what you think could cost you. And then you come up with a budget and you go get an approval from your sponsor. Your sponsor in that case would be your parents, but in an organization, it would be your maybe senior management or it could be your client. And there are defined budgets. So you also need to be careful about managing the budget and also the schedule. So in terms of dependencies, again, you also have to understand the different dependencies. Finish to start is a typical thing where we are saying, I complete my preparation, then only I can start taking the exam. Start to start, some things can be done parallelly. So in this example, we are talking about house construction, where you pour the concrete and parallelly you are going to also level it. Otherwise, it will harden. So maybe you can say you start preparing and then you also do your exam, maybe some kind of a mock exam or something if you're doing a gate preparation. But that will be with a lag. So you start preparing a little bit, then take an exam to do a quick check. So these are the different dependencies that are there in projects, which will help you to come up with a schedule in a proper way. Not every task is one after the other, sequential. Some can be done in parallel. Some need to be completed together. So those are the things that you need to know and be aware of when you're making a schedule. And this is what is a typical Gantt chart in a project. This is how a schedule is represented. Now let's move to risk. What is risk? What is risk? Anybody?
The possibility of a project failure or a deviation from the project while executing it.
Okay, very good. Any other thoughts? Okay. So risk in general for us is having a more negative connotation, but risk has both the positive and the negative aspects. If it is positive, we call it an opportunity. If it is negative, we call it as the risk. So when we talk about a risk, it is mostly an uncertain event. So like I said, getting approval from the municipality. So that's an uncertain event. So you need to plan for it. And when we are talking about risk analysis, you also need to be aware about there are lots and lots of risks. So you can't manage all the risks that are there in the project. So what you do an analysis of the probability and the impact. Probability, what does it mean? What is the difference between these two?
Likelihood of an
Very good.
occurrence of a thing.
Okay. Impact?
How it is going to affect us.
Correct. So not all events or not all possible risks in the project have higher possibility or probability. So you need to manage those risks in your project which have a medium to high probability and impact. Now, let's say we're doing a project here in Hyderabad. So if we look at earthquake, that's a risk. But what is the probability of earthquake happening in Hyderabad?
Probably zero.
Not much. I wouldn't say zero because we did experience a few earthquakes before you were born. I think probably Geeta, Shravan, they remember. Mild though. But if it happens, the impact could be devastating if it is a big one. So should we include it? No, not necessarily. But if you are in areas where it happens and you are in a construction industry, you need to plan for it, which means your design itself has to take care these kind of things. But what is more important in your projects, it could be that the team, probably one of the persons on the team may go away. Now that is highly probable because of their own other commitments, activities, whatever. And what is the impact? Depending on what role they take, the impact also is higher. So you need to analyze all the risks that are there in the project and then manage them based on the probability and the impact. Now, how do you manage them? One way is you can avoid the risk. That is, you don't take up such project where you think there is high risk. That is avoidance. Now, you know that you do not have strength, let's say, in a particular area. Maybe we are talking about construction. So as chemical engineers, you think that if there is a construction project coming in, you have no clue, so you would rather avoid it. So that is a way of ensuring that that risk is taken care. Now, what is mitigation? What is mitigation?
Reducing it.
Correct. So when we say mitigation, it could be reducing either the probability or the impact. Now, if we take the same resource related risk, one way to reduce the impact would be, any guesses?
Didn't get the question, ma'am.
So we are saying that one of your team members leaving in the middle of the project is a risk. So you want to mitigate this risk. How will you do it?
We'll
What
develop
plan?
a alternate resource.
Very good. So what would that do? What are you trying to manage? Probability or impact?
Impact.
Yeah, probability is not in our hands. Impact.
Impact. Probability can be done by managing the resource right from the beginning, maybe showing that this project is important for them, and then ensuring that they have some incentives in doing it. So that way you will reduce the probability. So it is up to you. You can either manage the probability or the impact. That is mitigation. How do you transfer risk? Can you do that?
No idea.
Again, think from probability and impact perspective, then you will know.
Hey, Sunanda, try
Yeah.
to press the hide button
Oh,
whenever you
yeah.
get a chance.
Yeah, I know.
It's okay.
Yeah. So think from that perspective.
Ma'am,
Any of
transfer
you?
to others, ma'am. The risk.
Yeah,
You can.
transfer is from you. You are transferring it to somebody else.
You can subcontract it.
Excellent. What
Okay.
else? What else? Any of you own vehicles?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you take insurance for that?
Yes.
What does it do? What does it do? How does it help?
We'll come to our rescue when we are having an impact due to a risk.
Yeah. So when you go hit somebody, the insurance agency is going to pay it. So you are transferring the impact of that risk to the insurance agency. So typically, whenever we talk about transfer of risk, it is always associated with a certain fee, whether it is outsourcing, subcontracting. When you subcontract, the same thing, you don't have the capability. So you are putting it to somebody else. So you are having to pay them. What about acceptance? What is acceptance?
Some are unavailable, so we'll have to plan our schedule, including them. Something
Correct.
like that.
So you, if they are minor, you say, okay, I accept this risk. I know this risk is there and I accept the risk. So sometimes what you do is you plan for it. If it is something not very major, it is called contingent risk response. So if that event happens, I will put in place. Not right now. So you are not actually using up your budget in that case. Or sometimes if it is really minor, you say, okay, I live with this risk. For me, managing, planning, and preparing for this is much more time taking and expensive. So I would rather, live with it, accept it. So let's see this fun example. I think all of you know this.
రండి ఎక్కడ 1 minute అరే మళ్ళీ ఎక్కడికి కొంచెం నిమిషం
ఎవరికో లిఫ్ట్ చేయడం కోసం మనం ఎక్కాలా
ఎవరి పెళ్ళికో మీరు వస్తే నేను మిమ్మల్ని డ్రైవ్ చేయట్లేదు ఇక రండి తినిపించాలు కూర్చో రైట్ మేనేజర్ మనకు షుగర్ ఉంది కదండి గంటకోసారి పాట పాడకపోతే కష్టం పాట
వీడికి షుగర్ వాడికి పొగరు
ఆ గొడుగు ఎందుకండి సడన్ గా వర్షం వస్తే జలుబు చేస్తుందని ముందు జాగ్రత్త ఓహో బ్యాగ్ లో క్యాష్ ఉందా రెయిన్ కోట్ గాలిచ్చి గుడికి ఎగిరిపోతే జలుబు చేస్తుందని ముందు ఇందాకేంటండి కారు కని తాళాలు వేశారు హైవే కదా ఎవరిని ఎత్తుకుపోతారేమోనని ముందు జాగ్రత్త
So what do you understand here?
So he accepted that it will rain and he's carrying an umbrella.
No, he's actually trying to mitigate, isn't it? if it is going to rain, I will reduce the impact of the rain by using an umbrella. What about the raincoat?
It is like a backup, ma'am.
Exactly. So in risk management, you always have a plan A and a plan B. So, I mean, that's a fun example, but anyway, so that is how you have to think about in terms of managing the risk. So you need to see what you have in place. What if plan A fails? What do you have as a backup plan or a plan B? And sometimes it happens that with implementing a certain risk strategy, there could be a secondary risk coming in. So you need to know how to manage that, a contingent risk response. So the SWOT analysis is a way in which you can analyze and identify the risks and opportunities in your project. So there are different techniques. Brainstorming is one very simple technique which you can use to analyze and identify the risks that are there. And projects, we are saying we start with assumptions, which means that the assumptions themselves could become risk if it is not true. A later point of time, because we already said when we start a project, a lot of things are unknown. There is uncertainty. So that could lead to a risk. So you need to make a note of all these things and then ensure that these are managed very well. And risk management is not again a one-time activity. You need to continuously monitor and then plan for the risks that are coming up during the project execution as well. I'm not going into the depth of these things. Maybe some other time we can go into the details of the techniques, because this is just an overview 1.5 hour session. Now, the other important component of project management is stakeholder management. Who are stakeholders? What do we mean by
of company?
Yeah. Yeah, stakeholder.
Who own the shares of company?
Okay, that is one stakeholder. In a project, who do we call as a stakeholder?
Customers.
Customers, okay. Who else?
The one who has taken responsibility for the project.
One who has taken responsibility for the project. So essentially, it is anybody who has a stake. What do we mean by stake? Somebody who has an interest or an influence in the project. Anybody who has that interest or the influence on the project is called a stakeholder. Now, why stakeholder management is important? Because in projects, you can have stakeholders who can be positive, who can be negative. Because for projects, there are people who want it to happen. They are the positive stakeholders. They have an interest in the project happening. The negative stakeholders are those that want the project not to happen. They will try to fail your project, which is why you need to know who are all these people. And it need not necessarily be people. It could be organizations, it could be bodies, it could be some kind of associations also. So I'll give you one example where I was doing a project for the hearing impaired. So they were trying to have the screening for the newborn babies, because the idea is when newborn babies are screened for any hearing impairment, the correction is easier if it is done within the first 2 years or something. So they wanted to set up a unit in the ESI hospital in Hyderabad, one of the NGOs in Hyderabad. So we were doing a stakeholder analysis for that. So they thought the pediatrician, first they thought who are all the stakeholders involved. So they said gynecologist, the pediatrician, and then the superintendent of the ESI hospital. Then once they wanted to actually get the project going, they got the permission. They went, spoke to the gynecologist. She said, I'm not concerned. Once the baby is born, it is the pediatrician's responsibility. So they have to take care. So then they went to the pediatrician. So pediatrician initially said, yeah, we can go ahead with the project. But then what happened? They found that they had challenges because the nurses there in the hospital, they were not willing to do this extra work. It is a free service that they do. They were not willing to get it done. So because it's extra load, they have to have a separate time for this. They need to bring the babies to this particular room and all that. So they got the superintendent permission. The superintendent gave the permission, so the nurses had to work on this. So they managed that part. But then they were seeing that none of the babies were being referred. Then they found two things that they did not consider in terms of stakeholders. One, typically we are talking about the families that are below poverty line. So in that case, it is not just the mother who needs to be aware about the importance of this hearing screening, because mostly these people are also brought in by either the mother-in-law or the one other relative that is involved. So they had to also convince those people to make sure that the babies are brought in for hearing screening. Now, the other thing that they finally found was the pediatrician was very much resistant. The reason being, he had vested interest in another center which does this screening at a fee. He was getting a cut from that. So he was not really willing to refer anybody, or he was promoting this. So even though this is a project which is for social good, which is supposed to help people below poverty line, we found that unless you do a proper stakeholder management, it is going to become very, very difficult for the project to succeed. So it literally took months for them to get all these permissions and then make sure that the babies are actually screened. So you need to know who are the people who have that influence. So then they found that this pediatrician can be influenced by another superintendent who left the organization. So they went and spoke to him, and then through him, they ensured that the pediatrician will refer. So when you do a stakeholder analysis, you need to know who will influence your project positively, who will influence it negatively. And you need to manage these stakeholders, whoever have higher interest and higher power or influence. They have to be closely monitored. So we talked about updates on the project. So you need to make sure the updates about the project are given to these on the right corner, right quadrant that you're seeing, top right. So these kind of people have high power and high interest in making sure that the project works successfully. So most often what happens is we do not identify all the stakeholders, which could lead to the project getting stalled or the project becoming failed. So you have to understand what this is. So stakeholders, when you're trying to manage, there are different categories. People who don't know why the project is being done, they are the unaware type. So for them, giving some inputs about why the project is happening, how it helps will be helpful. The resistant people are the ones that you have to work with closely and then make sure that you can turn them around to your side. Neutral people, again, you need to find out who can influence these neutral people towards the positive side. The supportive and leading stakeholders are the ones that will actually help you. Now, even in the Metro Rail project, the same thing happened. They were supposed to have the Metro Rail project done. In fact, it was to go very close to Koti Women's College, but that got stopped and it took a very long time and the project was stalled because there were environmental groups who said the Women's College, there is the building, which is a heritage building. They said if this train is going to go close to that, the heritage structure is going to be spoiled. So they took a very long time. And there were also other environmental institutions where they had to take their help, convince them, because a lot of trees had to be removed during the construction. So they started protesting. And these people didn't consider them as stakeholders or anybody who could really impact. They thought government, L&T, and we are done. So all these objections came in, and they again worked with another organization which did a tree replanting. So they removed the whole tree, the big one, and then they went and planted it somewhere else in the outskirts. So that is how they convinced. So you need to be aware of all these different aspects when we are talking about stakeholder management. It becomes very, very important. Now we'll move on to the difference between a traditional project management versus an agile. I'm already running behind time. So traditional is what we have been talking about. You plan ahead of time. You have very well-defined requirements. You have a clarity in terms of what the project will achieve, what is the scope involved, and where you don't have the facility to interact with the client frequently. That is when you go with the traditional plan, the model, which is also called the waterfall model. Now, the agile model is where we are talking about where the requirements are not clear. They are changing requirements. And now people want to see something of value, something tangible quickly. They can't wait for years together and at the end of that time find that this is not something that we need. So they want to make sure that they want to get it going. Maybe I think some of you have worked on web development projects for some clients. So they don't want that complete website to be up and running and then see what it is going to look like. So they want to see, okay, how do my screens look like? So they can make changes to the screens and the look and feel of that website. So agile model focuses more on time boxing. So you have a certain cycle where we call it as sprints. So each cycle or sprint has a certain defined duration. So here you're not saying these are my whole set of requirements and then I will take 1 month, 2 months to complete the project. So they give you either 1 week or 2 weeks or 1 month, whatever is your sprint cycle, and say, okay, what can you deliver to me within this given time frame? So this helps in managing the changing requirements and uncertainty that is there. So you quickly work on it and then you interact with the client. But the downside is you need to make sure that you get the client's involvement on this very much. Because unless they give you the feedback, you cannot go into the next sprint, make changes, and then deliver to the client. So agile methodology focuses on small teams. You have just about 5 people and it is more self-organizing. You don't have a project manager who is going to prepare all the plan and then say, you do this, and then monitor. It is more about you as a team saying, okay, I can work on this. I think more like how you people are doing. You are the agile managers. So you decide what you are good at and then you pick those requirements and you work on it. So everybody chooses what they can do in the set of requirements, but requirements are given by the product owner or the client. And every week or whatever is the sprint cycle, you complete, show it to them, and then whatever changes are needed, they are suggested. And then in the next cycle, you implement those changes or the feedback and then add some more features. So it is like an incremental delivery that you're having in the agile methodology. So this is what agile methodology looks like. You have a product backlog, which is the entire product that needs to be developed. That is broken down into sprint backlog. Backlog is not your exams backlog. Don't get confused. This is more about the features, the requirements that need to be done. So if let's say there are 30 to be done in the product backlog, you divide and say in each sprint, I will do 10. So that is done in a sprint cycle. And every day you have a Scrum meeting where you talk about what is it that you did yesterday, what you plan to do today, and what is to be done tomorrow. So that all the team is in sync and then they ensure that they are focused on the work. And at the end of the sprint cycle, they deliver it to the client or whoever is the product owner. So these are the different roles that are there in a Scrum framework. Some of you, I think, already did a short course on Scrum fundamentals. So I will not go into the details of this. Now let's come to the project management tools. One of the very popular project management tools is Microsoft Project. So the Gantt chart that I showed you is something that is very popular using Microsoft Project. So you don't need to build the logic into the project. It is already there. It is like an Excel with the project logic built into it. All the dependencies that we're talking about, how resources can be assigned to it, all of that can be done in the project. And then it will also help you to keep tracking. You can generate reports. And Jira is more used for the agile project management. So Jira will have your product backlogs, you have an Epic, a product backlog, and then the Scrum, and then you can break it down into whatever tasks are there for each sprint. Similarly, these are the other tools that are used for managing the projects. So there are, even Microsoft Project is trying to customize for the agile, but it is not all that successful. Jira is something that is more used in an agile environment and Unfuddle. Of course, Microsoft Excel is something that whatever tools you have, still a lot of people go with Excel. Now, in terms of, okay, let me pause for a minute. If there are any questions, let me take those questions.
Ma'am, I have this question. Like,
yeah,
how do bigger companies manage the risk that is unexpected? So for the expected risks, they'll have their backup plans. But what if there comes a scenario where they got a bigger impact on something and they
yeah,
are not in a stage to do the project?
right. So what we are saying is, I mean, as part of risk management, we do analyze, we identify. But as you are in the project, there is something that you did not foresee that comes into picture, right?
Yes.
So for those kind of things is where we have what is called a contingency fund. So there is a certain budget that is allocated for that. So from that fund, you use that fund to see how you can address that. That is how the projects are dealt with for uncertainties that come up during a project. And you also have to replan. One is you try and use from the contingency fund that is there. So let's say you are finding that suddenly you have worked to some extent and there is a change that has come in. If there is a change, again, like I said, change management has to be in place for the scope. But if it is something that you did not plan for and there is an error that is coming in and you have to rework it or you have to make corrections, that is when you use from the contingency fund. Either you have resources pulled in from outside, maybe you call in a consultant, you have to pay them to take care of this uncertainty, right? Or you need to put extra resources because this is something that you did not plan for and this is an activity that you are doing. So that is how the uncertainties in the project are dealt with.
Got it, ma'am. Thank you.
Any
And
other? Yeah.
regarding this, defining the scope, ma'am, like sometimes our client or the customer might not be knowing what he really wants, and he might not be technically sound to define what he exactly wants. So how we deal with this situation? Like he'll be telling okay for everything that we write on the paper in the initial days, and then keeps on asking for more.
Yeah. So which is why instead of the waterfall model, we are moving towards the agile, where we are saying, okay, we'll come up with a mock-up or we'll give you a pilot. You look at it and then you tell me whether this is okay or not okay. Especially when we are talking in a software scenario, because it is something that is intangible. You can't actually feel and see. If you're only talking about spec, like you said, customer will say, okay, yes, 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 for all that, because he may not understand what you're talking about. That is where, for one, what we generally do is you have a meeting with the client. There are certain technical people on the client side. Even otherwise, you try to come up with some kind of a screens, or in the requirements, you try to have a mock-up which you can show to the customer and say, this is how it works. And then you take a sign off from the customer. that yes, this is how it is going. But if there is a change that is coming in, you also need to have a change management process in place. In a typical traditional model, you have a change management where if the customer feels that no, this is not what I want something else to be done. Because if it is not part of the scope, you analyze that requirement, you see how much time it takes, how much budget it needs, and then you plan for that and say, okay, this is what it is going to cost you. It could be money, it could be time, it could be people, and say that this is what is the thing. So if you approve it, you give that additional thing, and then we work on it. So change management is very, very essential in a traditional project management to take care of these things. But when you move to agile, because you have a time box, so within that 2 weeks, you have agreed on certain features, and then you will complete it and show it. The customer will also have to test, see how it is looking, whether he's okay with it, and then make changes. So whatever changes are suggested, they are again put into the next cycle or the next sprint. And then the additional features are taken.
Got it, ma'am. Thank
Yeah.
you. And
So that is why waterfall is not really working out these days, unless it is, you know, a tried and tested kind of a project where the requirements are known, everything is done. And clients also may not want to interface with you on such a frequent basis. In those scenarios, you will have to go with the traditional model.
yes,
Any other
ma'am.
questions?
So, like do project managers also deal with payment terms of the project, ma'am, towards the end?
Yes, depends on the organization. So depending on the organization, if you are also responsible for the contract, you need to be aware, which is why project managers, we talked about multi-talented and then, you know, multitasking also. So you need to have a knowledge of lot of things. Of course, you will have experts in the organization. You are not like, you need to be a legal expert, you need to be a technical expert or things like that. But you should definitely try and understand what a contract is and how you do it. Because, like I said, if with the client you're having a contract, you need to know what you are agreeing in terms of the contract, because there are always penalties that are involved if you violate the contract. So the deliverables and all that have to be according to that particular contract. So payment is the same thing. You have to raise the invoice, because payments are generally done in parts. Nobody pays you in full. So based on the contractual terms, depending on each milestone. So that is where your milestone comes into picture. The payment is done after each milestone or after a particular phase and things like that. So there are, again, that's a whole big topic in terms of payment. But yes, sometimes project managers will also have to be involved in that, asking with clients. You need to put up your case. Sometimes clients say that, no, you have not done according to what we asked, so we're going to cut the payment, whatever. So all these things will be there. It is not a dull a day for a project manager anytime.
Yes.
I think Geeta will vouch for it. She's been there.
Like, will there be difference in the model with which we deal with the team while executing the project? Suppose, say, if it is a 3-member team, we deal in certain way. If it is a 30-member team, we deal it in certain way. And 300 team, we deal in other way, right? So will it be different, ma'am? Like,
yes, it will be, because depending on the team size and the organization, the way you manage also differs, and it also depends on the organization. See, in some organizations, their core business is something. Like, let's say we are talking about manufacturing the cars. That's their primary business. So projects is a small part of it, which means your project team members may not be dedicated to your project. They are also working on some other activity, and then they will be pulled into it. Because when I was working in a process industry, I was part of a different team, and I was also asked to look into some troubleshooting project, and we were setting up an incinerator. So I had to work on that. So for the project purpose, you report to the project manager. Otherwise, you report to somebody else. So there also, there are a lot of other conflicts. So as a project manager, you need to have communication skills, negotiation skills, conflict management skills, leadership skills. All these are needed.
Yes, ma'am.
because you have dual reporting.
Ma'am, do we have any models in place, ma'am? Like for 30-member team, we should deal in this way. For 300
No,
member
there is no defined this is what you need to do, because again it depends on the organization. But you can always choose when there are bigger teams, you need to make it into smaller teams and then coordinate with them.
like we
Which
make
is
layers.
which is why agile has come into picture, where they say it has to be smaller teams, so that this uh, having bigger teams where communication is a challenge, there are more conflicts happening, things are becoming more and more difficult, they have moved into the agile management. But there are still a lot of organizations where you have huge teams, but there you have again broken down into smaller teams, team lead for each of that small team, and then the team leads will coordinate with the managers.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yes, ma'am. Like, I have a question. Like, how about research projects, ma'am? Like, how are they considered? How are they executed? Like, we will have some goals, right? Suppose say increasing the solar cell efficiency, something like that. So, as you mentioned earlier, that project can be longer. Like are research projects considered to be projects, or is there any other name to them?
No, see, R&D as such is, if you look at it, the whole R&D, it is, you can't call it a project. But again, within that, you can break it down into smaller projects. Like, for example, you talked about efficiency. So if you are saying that I want to achieve this efficiency, you do a research for that, that can be called a research project. So that, because you are saying that within your goal is to get this particular efficiency in that energy, solar cell or whatever. So only that part. But overall R&D, we can't call it as a project because it is an ongoing effort. But if you define a specific goal for it, that is taken as a project. Because in R&D, you can have smaller projects for that. But not the overall, if you are saying coming up, I just want to do an R&D and find out what happens in the solar efficiency. But if you said, so and so percentage of efficiency I want to get, yes, that you take up as a project because you have a specific goal and you're working towards that. But they can be long term. It's not like it will be a shorter term. Again, I'm saying projects can be for a long period also, years.
Yes.
Yeah. Any other question? Anybody else? Okay, shall we?
Ma'am, can we become like direct project managers, or do we need to have any job experience before getting into that level?
See, typically, it depends on the organization. When you call yourself a manager, you're supposed to have had experience managing those projects to some extent. You work in the team and then you grow into a manager. But because some organizations are taking them directly with maybe an MBA with project management, they are taken as project managers. But it is always good to grow with experience. Then you will know what exactly is the problem that is happening at the ground level.
How
you
do you
can
think
be a project manager.
MBA can assist the project manager, ma'am? Like, is it necessary?
It is not necessary. I wouldn't say that. It is not necessary that you need an MBA for becoming a project manager. With the experience that you are getting managing projects, you can always become a project manager. Most project managers do not have MBAs. They have grown in the ranks working on projects, and at best, they need certifications. Because that is something that organizations ask, because the certification is something that tells the world that you have a certain level of knowledge and experience in managing the projects.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Like the
So
experience, it's not the degree.
Yes, of course. But again, For the entry, it is not necessary that you need to do an MBA with project management. A lot of us went into project management with our BTech degrees.
Mhm.
So you work in the project, you get experience, and then you can grow. Or if you want to choose a career in project management, you can do some diploma courses. So that is what I will show you here, the different roles that are there.
While you're pulling that up, Sunanda, I have found that it's mostly your relationship skills and your people skills. Because in project management, people are not reporting to you directly. So how do you influence them? How do you get the work done? So it is through building these relationships.
Yeah. So definitely that is what I'm saying. You grow into a project manager, but there are options, career options where, you know, at the entry level now here certain organizations say that if you have this, you get that edge. But if you want to be successful, it is more about people skills. Like I said, you need to understand about how to work with different people. As Geeta is saying, and like I have mentioned earlier, you may not be directly having authority on the team that you are working with. If you are working in a projectized organization where they do only projects, then yes, probably you are responsible for your project team. But in organizations where projects are a department and then the main business is something, then it is more about you don't have a direct authority on the team. They work with you for that particular project, and you are having to work with their reporting manager and make sure that the project is successful, because all their other leaves, appraisals, everything is through the other functional manager that they're working with. So it is more about the influence that you have on them, how well you are able to connect them to the goal of the project, the vision, what the project is trying to achieve. So you generally don't have authority in most organizations unless a typical IT organization here in India where you do only projects. Yes, then you are a project manager, your team is directly reporting to you and you have the authority. But then again, it is for that short period of time, because after the project is done, it is not necessary that they work with you. So it is very critical that you build the relationship with the team members and also create that synergy in the team to make sure that you get it done. And it is mostly collaboration and cross functional work that you need to do. So that
Yes,
is
ma'am.
the big thing.
Also, how do you manage if you have elder people than you in the team?
It's okay. It's based on your experience, your knowledge. So you need to know, that is what is stakeholder management. You need to understand what that person is coming with, and then you work with them. I work with people who are much younger to me. So
Yes.
yeah, I report a person who is younger to me. It's okay. So you need to recognize their, whoever it is. I mean, whether you are managing people who are elder to you or the other way around, you need to look at the skills they are coming with and what works for them. That is the only way that you can influence people, because it is not always authority. You don't have authority in most of the cases. It's more about your influence, your relationship, and then your understanding of the people. That is what will work in the long term.
Got it. Ma'am,
Yeah.
also, like, will your day will be full of stress and all the schedules going on and managing many people, like full tension?
It will be if we are trying to manage things that are not planned well, then there will be too much stress. But otherwise, also, there is definitely, like I said, things that don't go as expected. So you have to manage them, it's part of the job. So that is there.
Okay.
So any other question? So in terms of roles, like I said, if you start with, yeah, Nikhil?
You said you'll show something.
Yeah, that was about the roles, what different roles that are there. So there are, of course, PMI is Project Management Institute, which is very well known for project management world over. So they do these studies and they're saying that there are huge opportunities for project management roles. So there is a project coordinator role, typically a beginner kind of a role. Then, of course, you have a project manager, a program manager. Then PMO is project management office, who are responsible to drive the project management practices. So you can also choose to go into that area where what kind of best practices need to be followed, what are the metrics that need to be brought in. So all those things are defined by the PMO. So we talked about program manager, portfolio manager. So these are all the different roles that you can look forward to when you work in project management. Then these are the different certifications. PMP, Project Management Professional. This is from PMI. This
Ma'am,
is,
are you sharing the screen, ma'am?
oh, you're not able to see? Thank you for bringing it up. That's a challenge for me with Google Meet. I don't know. Yeah. Now I remembered. Can you see the screen now? Yeah. So PMP is Project Management Professional Certification, but this needs experience. You need at least about 3 years of experience working on projects. This is something that's accepted world over. Then you have Prince2, which is more for the UK and then the Australia, those areas. Prince2 is not worldwide accepted. Then PMI came up with an agile certification, which is called the ACP and the disciplined agile certification. So this is for the agile methodology that we were talking about. Then you also have Scrum, which is a framework for agile methodology. There are again different frameworks that are there. So you have CSM certification, you have this is a Scrum Master certification, and this is called a Scaled Agile Framework. So these are the popular certifications in Agile. So these need experience. Now, these are all the criteria that are needed and how much it costs. But at this point, I don't think it is relevant for you because you need experience. So this is, again, a lot of learning from movies in terms of project management. Probably when you start watching, think about project management also. So let me summarize what we have done. So we talked about project management, why project management is necessary, what it achieves, then what is it that you are going to achieve in managing projects, what is a project supposed to be doing, how you manage projects, and then the organization, the key components, how they influence, and what is to be done and what is not to be done. So this is actually a very good video. I will share it offline, maybe you can watch it. This talks about the actual Titanic, not the movie Titanic, the original Titanic, why it sunk. Lot of project management lessons. Now that you have the context, you will be able to understand why that happened. So let me share that later. It's about 20 minutes, so I don't want to take up more time. I'm already, I think, exceeded half an hour from our scheduled time. Lot of interesting lessons, how projects fail, and especially the Titanic, such a huge mistake that happened because of mismanagement on the project. I've also shared a few resources. I will send these slides across. Let me know where. So you can go through and then see what other resources are there. There are a lot of free resources to learn more about project management. So you can go through that and see if you're interested, pursue it. And thank you so much. in spite of me extending for another half an hour, you're all still keen and energetic. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much, ma'am.
Sunanda.
Thank you, Geeta. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, ma'am.
Project managers here.
Thank you, ma'am.
You already have great project management skills, all of you. So I think
So
that's an ideal career.
thank you, ma'am, for letting us know more about project management. Wow, it was really an interactive session. We learned and enjoyed at the same time. Thank you, ma'am, for your time, energy, and heart.
Thank you so much. I love talking to you all. Life itself is a project. So let's make sure we have our objectives. We all have a start and an end. So make sure we manage it very well. And yeah, all the very best. If you have any further questions, anytime, reach out to me. You have my WhatsApp. You can ping me. We can take it forward. Thanks once again.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Wait, Sunanda, I think Nikhil or somebody has the comment, right? Didn't someone want to say something?
Okay.
Oh,
Yes,
yes.
ma'am.
Yeah. Yes, Nikhil.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You clearly, we did projects, right? So you clearly mentioned how we were able to learn them before knowing these all things, and the way you explained with movie scenes was just amazing. I recently heard about a role naming engineering manager,
Mm.
so I'm very excited about it. So soon we'll talk about it.
Absolutely. Definitely. Yep. Thank you so much, because you already did projects and then you have a lot of experience. It became much easier for me, and it made my life easier because I could pick your projects from the website and relate to that and speak. Because when I do sessions elsewhere in college, that's a little difficult because they haven't done projects, whereas you're all seasoned project managers already. You are doing a reverse mapping. You know how to do. You're mapping the concept to what you're doing right now.
We are just learning the jargon.
Exactly. And great session, Vinay. Yeah, of course, I didn't attend, but I heard all the rave reviews about your gratitude session. I was so happy to see your name along with the others in the speakers list. Oh, wow, he's going places.
Yes, ma'am. All our teammates' names are going to come, ma'am.
Very
every
nice.
week, two of our teammates can speak.
Fantastic.
Also, thank you for suggesting us to take the Scrum Fundamental certificate, ma'am. It was so helpful. And Litija has been telling, Anna, మనం ఇవన్నీ చేస్తాం కాబట్టి we can easily correlate. అసలు చాలా ఈజీగా అయిపోయింది కోర్స్.
True. I mean, that is very true because you're already doing it. Like I said, it is only a reverse mapping. Now you're able to correlate what you're doing and what the terminology is. It is a natural thing for all of you.
Yes, ma'am.
All the best.